Hey there, workplace warriors, and welcome to another video. I am continuing our job search readiness series in this video with tips on the education section of your resume and some formatting advice for your resume as well. So let's get started. I get the question sometimes whether it's best to place your educational credentials near the top of your resume or near the end. And the answer is, it depends. Some people are earlier in their career, and if that's you, where maybe you've only been out of your training program or out of high school or out of college or out of your graduate or postgraduate educational, your degree program for a short period of time. Now, realistically, unless you went straight through school from high school up to graduate school and through a PhD program, and you had no work experience, typically by the time you get to the PhD, you're going to have quite a bit of work experience unless you decide to pursue a doctorate degree that is totally different from the career field that you've been working in up to this point. And sometimes that happens. There are plenty of people who graduated from college and never worked in the field that they majored in college, but they decided that they wanted to continue to try and break into their field of expertise that they got their bachelor's or even their master's maybe in. And so they go on for their PhD, and maybe it's not a match for the type of job that they are currently working. They could be working retail, they could be working in some type of service oriented position that is maybe not the highest paying, but they worked it so that they could have some income coming in while they continued their educational career. So if that is the case, if you're early in your career or you don't have at least, I would say, 2 to 3 years of experience in your selected career field, then I would say I recommend to my clients who I coach to list their educational credentials near the top of their resume. And typically I recommend that they place it in its own section immediately following their professional summary statement, and then start to list their skills or their accomplishments or their work history, and go from there. Now, if you are a more seasoned professional with years of experience, more than 3 years of directly related experience to your chosen career field, definitely put that, list your work history section before your education history. And reason being, truth be told, is hands-on experience. I don't care how many degrees you have, unless you have been a researcher, let's say during your doctoral program, you conducted some type of groundbreaking research that has been widely adopted within your industry, something like that, then the hands-on experience is going to win a lot of times. Or even if you get the job with little hands-on experience, but you have the PhD, many times your pay is not going to be, you won't be able to command as high of a pay as someone who has a combination of, let's say, a bachelor's and a master's and 15 years of directly related experience, because that bachelor's and the master's, that's considered, or the way that I've always considered it, is roughly equivalent to 5 years, eight, let's get it right, 6 years of experience, even though you didn't have hands-on experience. So 4 years credit of equivalency credit for the bachelor's, and an additional 2 years of equivalency credit for the master's. And when I say equivalency when compared to hands-on full-time work experience directly related to the chosen field of interest. And then an additional 2 to 3 years equivalency for the PhD. So you're talking about a total of 8, maybe 9 years, depending upon your field. Some fields might command even more years of credit, equivalency credit. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that's 9 years of education with no work experience. But someone who has a bachelor's, 4 years, a 4-year degree, and a master's, a 2-year degree, that's 6 years, plus 15 years of directly related hands-on experience. That's 8 plus 15. That is 24 years of qualifications, equivalency qualification for that person. So can you see how they would likely be able to command a higher salary? Because their learning curve is not going to be as great, because that person has worked in corporate or in government, in the public sector. Bottom line is they have 15 years of hands-on working full-time or part-time experience. Even if they've been working half-time, that's another 7.5 years of directly related work experience. Even if all 15 of those years they've been working 20 hours a week. When you cut those number of years in half, then that gives them 7.5 years on top of the 8 or 9 years of education. So that's still what, 15, 16 and a half possibly of equivalency experience. And their learning curve is just not going to be the same as someone, is not going to be as long as someone who has solely attended school straight through. That's why you probably hear some people tell young adults who are in school, get yourself some experience. Or that's why some people decide to work a few years after undergrad and then go to graduate school. Or they are working to save some money so that they can maybe pay for their education out of pocket, as opposed to taking out student loans. Or they decide to work for a while, raise a family, and then later on, maybe 10, 15 years later, go and pursue their master's degree or their PhD. But guess what? If they work during that time, they're gaining valuable experience, especially if it is related to their career field of interest. So I just wanted to help you to understand the reasons for placing your educational history either at the beginning or at the end of your resume, and the reason for both, because there are pros and cons to both. Like, for instance, you can place your educational history towards the top, and it could bring quick attention to the person who's reading your resume, It could bring quick attention to the fact that you don't have a lot of experience in your now chosen field of expertise because you may have decided to make a career change. The and I think I said that might be a con. If I said pro, that's a mistake. I meant that as a potential con to putting your your educational history near the top of your resume. But then a pro to it is that the person who is reading your resume, who is likely the recruiter or hiring manager, they may prefer someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, directly related work experience. So just consider that they may want somebody who doesn't come in with their own ideas of how things should be done. They may want to mold that person and train them in the way that they want them to be trained, which is going to happen on almost any job anyway. But they may prefer someone who doesn't come in with a lot of preconceived notions on how things should be done on the job. So consider that as well. Either way, just get your career started. Don't worry about all of those things. It's good to have that knowledge, and that's why I share that information with you, just so you can be fully informed about the pros and cons of the way that you lay out your resume. But also, the other thing that I wanted to share with you this evening is that your resume needs to be formatted in a certain way to be considered to have high impact on the person who is reading it. Like I said, could be a recruiter or the hiring manager. And so what you want to do is you want the layout of your resume to be inviting. And that means that you need to use that resume real estate wisely, and having a nice balance of white space and text. You don't want your resume to seem overcrowded. You don't want a lot of long paragraphs on your resume, because the paragraphs are less reader friendly, and that's why I recommend bullet points. When you do put a sentence or a paragraph, make sure it makes the point clearly and succinctly, very quickly, just to provide a high level overview of, let's say, your positions that you held in the past. But do not use a lot of long paragraphs, and definitely not long sentences. Use bullet points. Also, leave about 3/4 of an inch of margin space all around the resume, top and bottom, as well as on the sides. But now, if you have one more line of information that you're trying to place on one page, because it's going to look silly having that line of information on a page all by itself, if you're going to adjust a margin to make them smaller, make sure that you adjust the top and the bottom margins first, because when you make those a little bit smaller than your side margins, it's not going to be quite as noticeable. One, because your header is at the top, and people just aren't going to pay that smaller margin as much attention, or give you dings or ding you or take points away from you when they're reviewing it. They're not going to count off as much for that. As long as your name is prominently displayed and your contact information is presented clearly, where they can easily decipher it or read it, then or recognize what that information is conveying, then that's what you want to achieve. So, like I said, if you're going to kind of steal a little bit of space from some margins to try and squeeze one more line on that one page to keep it from spilling over onto your resume, from spilling on over to the next page. If you've deleted everything that you possibly can delete, and you absolutely have to have this line of information on your resume, like I said, leave the side margins alone. Make sure they're at least 3/4 of an inch in width, and kind of play around a little bit with your top margin. Or you can always play around with the font size between major headings on your resume to create a little bit more resume real estate for you to include some additional information. So that's some food for thought. Also, make sure that you do not do two things. These are two big don'ts. Don't waste resume real estate by titling your resume or placing the heading at the top of your resume, RESUME. That goes understood. It's understood that that's your resume. You do not have to announce it with a heading at the top with that title. Also, at the bottom, which used to be a standard practice, was widely accepted, but it is no longer a practice that we should be engaging in, is at the bottom, placing the statement, references available upon request. That goes without saying. It's an understood, because if you really want the job, when that employer asks you for your references, you're going to provide them. And I coach my clients to have their list of professional references. I'll talk sooner or later. It's been a long work week. Got one more day to go tomorrow, and I am a little tired, so I apologize for that. But do not put that statement at the bottom of your resume that references are available upon request. That's a given. Just go ahead and format yourself a separate page that has the same header, identical header as your cover letter and your resume. And you can put a title, a centered heading on this particular paper asset for your career search, and title it Professional References. Because when you put on, or you can just indicate references, there are two ways you can do it. You can title the document Professional References, and there's going to be no further explanation needed. Or you can indicate professional references at the top, and then if you're going to mix professional and personal references, do one section for professional references. Let that be the first section of your list of references. Make sure that all of your professional references have first-hand knowledge of the quality of your work and your work habits in the workplace. And then you can also have personal references as well. And it'll depend on the employer which one they want. I prefer to ask for all professional references. But to each his own. Some people may just want references, and that's fine. Whatever that potential employer asks for in the way of references, just make sure that you provide them with what they ask for, with the types of references that they've asked for. There was one more. The other point I was going to make is when you delete that heading of titling your resume, and you delete that statement at the bottom about references being available upon request, you've just gained yourself 2 more lines of valuable resume real estate that you can use to put some more job related or career field related information, such as maybe a training that you've recently completed, or some self-study training that you're currently pursuing like something through Coursera or Udemy, if it's related to your chosen career field or the positions that you're planning to apply to, then yes, by all means, go ahead and utilize that resume real estate that you picked up by deleting unnecessary information or omitting unnecessary information to provide additional valuable information that could make the difference between you're being invited for an interview or not. So I hope you've gotten value from this content. I'm on a mission to help you to build and live your very best career life. So if you got value from this content, please smash the like button. Let the algorithms know that this is great content that others should see, and they'll push this content out to others. Also, share the content with your network, because I'm sure you know other people who are on a mission to living their very best career life. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. Also, if you would like to work more closely with me, I'll provide all of that, all of those details in the description below. And I would love for you to join me tomorrow morning for my weekly Friday morning live, where we dissect an article that's related to human resources. It's a lot of fun, and I would love to have you there so that you can comment in real time, give me your opinion on the article in real time, ask questions, just a whole lot of interactive fun. So that's every Friday morning at 7 a.m. on my YouTube channel at HR by Namtique 167. Again, I would love for you to join me. Also, consider signing up for my my next cohort of my career search RX coaching program. The new cohort will begin on Friday, March 7th, 2025, and I would love to have you to join me, where we do a deep dive on all things job search. So those details, the link will also to that will also be in the description below. So until next time, I look forward to seeing you for another video or for a Friday morning live on YouTube at 7 a.m. at HR by Namtique 167. And I wish you an awesome Friday on tomorrow and continued career success. Bye-bye.